both astonishing wealth and squalor, and Olmsted worked to make cities more livable. In this course, I'll guide you through Olmsted's incredible life. You'll learn about his genius as a designer of landscapes. You'll learn even more about his efforts to address the momentous challenges of his century. He had many extraordinary accomplishments, but he had to endure painful failures too. I should acknowledge, though, that my approach in telling his story is untraditional. Unlike his biographers, I won't begin with his birth in 1822 and end with his death in 1903. Instead, lectures 2, 3, 4, and 5 are thematic. They each consider Olmsted's engagement with a big question. How can people develop a sense of community in a highly mobile and individualistic society? That's lecture 2. What is the future of the city? That's lecture 3. How can we avoid destroying our environment? That's lecture 4. And what is the role of government in society? That's lecture 5. Then in my last lecture, I'll reflect on Olmsted's relevance today. Though he was a man of the 19th century, with assumptions and experiences we can't share, I'm convinced that he can help us address the challenges of our time. For the rest of this lecture, I'm going to discuss a key point about Olmsted's life. Though he began work on Central Park in 1857, he didn't focus on landscape architecture until after the Civil War, when he was in his 40s. So 1865 was the Great Divide. Olmsted was famous before then, but not primarily as a park maker. I can illustrate that point with a thought experiment. Imagine that Olmsted died on his 43rd birthday, April 26, 1865, a few weeks after the end of the Civil War. That's way before his actual death in 1903. But if he died in 1865, this is the thought experiment, how would he have been remembered in national news stories? I think most obituary writers would have described Olmsted as an influential journalist, a pioneer in management, and a notable social reformer. Probably only the New York City newspapers would have highlighted his work as a designer of Central Park. That's 4 claims to fame, and let's explore each in detail. First claim to fame, influential journalist. Olmsted's New York Times articles would have been enough to warrant that claim, but Olmsted did much, much more. Between 1852 and 1861, he wrote 5 books. The warm-up was a travelogue about England. Then Olmsted turned his dispatches from the South into 3 books, published in 1856, 1857, and 1860. And then in 1861, after the Civil War began, the greatest hits of his work on the South were condensed into a book called The Cotton Kingdom, with a new opening chapter on the present crisis. Modern historians often have students read excerpts of The Cotton Kingdom, but obituary writers in 1865 would not have known that, of course. Still, they would have praised Olmsted's in-depth and open-minded reporting. Though the issue of slavery became violently divisive in the 1850s, Olmsted was not a polemicist. He considered slavery wrong, but he doubted at first that abolition was possible in the near future. He wanted to understand how slavery shaped Southern society, something few Northerners had attempted. To do that, he traveled to the South for 14 months. That gave him unique insight. I was a journalist before I earned my PhD, and my journalism experience makes me marvel even more at Olmsted's skill as a reporter. He didn't want people to know that he was a Northerner, so he mastered a Southern accent. He even tried to look like a Southerner with a Southern bearing. And he won the confidence of an astonishing array of people, poor whites, plantation owners, and slaves of all kinds. He also had an amazing ability to record the dialects of the region. I'm not going to embarrass myself by reading you examples, but I'll just say that his reports seem to have veracity. The travel itself was unbelievably demanding.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.